The kingdom of Blackthorn had never seen a wedding like this one, and the pack elders had made sure of it. Banners of silver and gold hung from every tower. Musicians filled the courtyard with soft, joyful music. Hundreds of wolves, shifted into human form for the occasion, gathered to witness the marriage of their alpha, Damian Voss, to Seraphina Cole, daughter of the powerful Ashwood pack. Among the crowd, standing quietly near the edge of the stone platform, was Elena Reyes. She wore a simple gray dress, plain compared to the silk gowns around her. 3 years ago, she had become Luna of Blackthorn through a bond neither she nor Damian had chosen. Her parents had died protecting his territory, and pack law had forced the two of them together as mates. But Damian had never truly accepted her. He kept her close in title only, never in heart. Now, she stood among strangers, ordered by the elders to attend the ceremony as a symbol of unity. In truth, everyone knew the real reason. Damian wanted the whole kingdom to see that the bond between them was over. He wanted no doubt left in anyone's mind. Elena's hands trembled slightly as she watched him walk down the aisle in a black formal coat, his expression calm and unreadable. Seraphina followed behind him, dressed in a stunning white gown, embroidered with silver thread, her smile wide and confident. She glanced once at Elena, and there was something sharp behind her eyes, something that looked almost like triumph. Elena forced herself to breathe steadily. She had trained herself over the years not to show weakness, not in front of the pack, not in front of Damian. Whatever pain lived inside her chest, she buried it deep, the way she always did. The ceremony began. An elder stood before the couple, speaking the ancient words of union. Elena listened to every syllable, feeling as though each one carved something away from her. She had once hoped, foolishly perhaps, that Damian might come to care for her the way true mates were supposed to care for each other. She had waited patiently, believing that time would soften him. But standing here now, watching him prepare to marry someone else, she understood how wrong she had been. When the elder asked Damian if he accepted Seraphina as his wife, he paused for just a moment. It was brief, barely noticeable to anyone else, but Elena saw it. She saw the flicker of hesitation cross his face before he answered, "I do." A murmur passed through the crowd. Seraphina's smile widened. The elder turned to her, and she answered without hesitation, her voice loud and clear, as though she wanted everyone to hear her certainty. As the final words of the ceremony were spoken, something happened that no one expected. A low, mournful howl rose from somewhere in the crowd. Everyone turned, searching for its source, but it took a moment before they realized it had come from Elena. Her wolf, the part of her she had tried so hard to control, had let out a cry of grief that echoed across the courtyard. The sound sent a chill through the pack. Among werewolves, a true mate's cry during another's binding was considered a bad omen, a sign that something sacred was being broken. Whispers spread quickly, but the elders dismissed it, calling it nothing more than emotion, getting the better of a heartbroken woman. Still, many of the older wolves exchanged uneasy glances. They remembered the old stories, the ones about bonds that could not be forced to end. Damian's eyes met Elena's for a brief second. She saw something there, something that looked like guilt, but he quickly looked away and returned his attention to Seraphina. The ceremony ended, and the crowd moved toward the grand hall for the reception. Elena remained still for a moment, gathering herself before following the others inside. She told herself she would stay only long enough to fulfill her obligation, then quietly leave and never look back. Inside the hall, tables were filled with food, and wolves from different packs mingled, laughing and celebrating the new alliance between Blackthorn and Ashwood. Elena found a quiet corner near the back, away from the noise, watching the celebration with a heavy heart. It was then that the doors of the hall burst open. A man walked in, tall and broad-shouldered, his presence commanding immediate attention. Whispers spread through the room instantly. Elena recognized him at once, though it had been years since she had last seen his face. Marcus Kane, Damian's older brother, who had been exiled from the pack long before Elena had ever arrived. Damian rose from his seat, his expression darkening. "Marcus," he said, his voice low and controlled, "you are not welcome here." Marcus ignored him, his gaze sweeping across the room until it landed on Elena. For a brief moment, something softened in his expression. but he quickly turned his focus back to the crowd. "I did not come to disturb your wedding," Marcus said, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "I came to tell the truth, something this pack has been denied for far too long." Whispers turned into murmurs of confusion. Seraphina's confident smile faltered slightly, and her eyes darted toward her father, who sat near the front of the hall, his face suddenly pale. Marcus continued, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. 3 years ago, Elena's parents died protecting this pack's border. Everyone believes it was an accident, a tragic loss during a routine patrol. But it was not an accident. It was arranged. The hall fell into complete silence. Elena's heart pounded in her chest. She had always believed her parents' deaths were the result of unfortunate circumstances, a story she had accepted long ago because there had never been a reason to question it. "Arranged by whom?" Damian demanded, stepping forward. Marcus's eyes shifted toward Seraphina's father. "By Alpha Cole, to weaken Elena's bloodline and force this very alliance you stand here celebrating tonight." Gasps spread through the crowd. Alpha Cole rose from his seat, his face twisted with anger. "This is nonsense. Exiled wolves will say anything to cause chaos." "I have proof," Marcus said calmly, pulling a folded letter from his coat. "Documents taken from your own advisor, who grew tired of carrying the guilt of what he helped orchestrate. Elena is not simply the daughter of 2 loyal pack members. She is the last living heir of the Reyes bloodline, the family that ruled this territory long before Blackthorn rose to power." Elena felt the room spin slightly. She had never known anything about her family's history beyond the small stories her parents had shared with her as a child. She had certainly never imagined herself connected to any kind of ruling bloodline. Damian turned to look at her, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. "I didn't know," Elena admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never knew any of this." The hall erupted into chaos as pack members began speaking over one another, some demanding explanations, others turning accusing eyes toward Alpha Cole. Seraphina stood frozen at the altar, her carefully built composure crumbling as the truth unraveled around her. Alpha Cole tried to defend himself, insisting the accusations were fabricated, but the weight of the letter and the murmurs of agreement from those who had long suspected something wrong about Elena's parents' deaths made his protests sound hollow. Damian stepped down from the platform, walking slowly toward Elena. The entire hall watched as he approached her, his expression unreadable, but his steps steady and certain. "I was wrong," he said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "I let the elders and the politics of this alliance blind me to the truth of my own bond. I forced you to stand here and watch me betray what should have been sacred between us, and I have no excuse worthy of your forgiveness." Elena said nothing at first, her emotions a tangled mess of anger, grief, and disbelief. Around them, the pack watched in stunned silence, waiting to see what would happen next. "You let me stand there," Elena finally said, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath it, "and watch you marry another woman in front of everyone who once called me their Luna. Whatever truth has come out tonight does not erase that." Damian lowered his head slightly, accepting her words without argument. "You're right, it doesn't. But I am asking for the chance to make it right, however long that may take." Seraphina, humiliated and furious, stormed from the hall with her father close behind her, their alliance shattered before it had even truly begun. The remaining pack members turned their attention to Elena, many of them lowering their heads in a show of respect they had never openly given her before. An elder stepped forward, clearing his throat. "If the bloodline claims are proven true, then by ancient law, Elena Reyes holds a rightful claim to lead alongside, or even above, the current Alpha." The weight of those words settled over the hall. Elena, who only hours ago had been treated as an afterthought, now stood at the center of a truth far greater than she had ever imagined. In the days that followed, investigations confirmed what Marcus had revealed. Alpha Cole was stripped of his authority within Ashwood Pack, and the fragile alliance between the two packs collapsed entirely. Blackthorn's elders formally recognized Elena's heritage, and slowly, the pack began to see her not as a forgotten Luna, but as a woman of strength and quiet resilience, who had endured far more than any of them had realized. Damian did not push for forgiveness. Instead, he gave Elena space, showing his changed intentions through actions rather than empty promises. He stood by her during the difficult weeks of transition, supporting her as she learned more about her family's true legacy, never once demanding that she forget what he had done. Elena, for her part, did not rush to reconcile. She had spent 3 years being overlooked, and she was not willing to simply forget the humiliation of standing before the entire kingdom while the man she was bonded to married someone else. She allowed herself time to heal, time to understand her new role, and time to decide what she truly wanted for her future. Marcus remained in the background during this period, quietly rebuilding his place within the pack after years of exile. Though his feelings for Elena lingered beneath the surface, he chose not to speak of them, understanding that she needed space to find her own strength before anything else could be considered. Months later, during a quiet gathering to celebrate Elena's official recognition as a rightful leader within Blackthorn, she stood before the pack once more. This time, there was no humiliation, no forced silence. She spoke with confidence about the future she intended to build, one rooted in fairness and truth rather than fear or political convenience. Damian watched from the crowd, his eyes filled with quiet respect and something deeper that he no longer tried to hide. He understood now that trust could not be demanded, only earned, and he was prepared to spend however long it took proving himself worthy of the bond he had once so carelessly dismissed. As the celebration continued into the evening, Elena looked out over the pack that had once forced her to watch her own heartbreak unfold in public. Now they looked back at her with respect and hope for what she might bring to their future. Whatever happened next between her and Damian remained uncertain, but for the first time in years, Elena felt as though her story was finally her own to write.